Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time. In the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against the Canadian challenger in the blue, the Protoss player, we have Trigger. In a best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. And whether you're rooting for the best of the best or one of the best of all the rest, it'd be awesome if before we get started you could complete my simple quest, which is to smash that like button. At my behest. And maybe even subscribe. Help me counter the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? No cringing. 1,605 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than this first probe. You know? Actually, the probe's going to be fine. The Zerglings pull back as the Adept is threatening to come across the map. Trigger has his work cut out for him. I expect to see some generously described as creative strategies. Some might describe it as a bag of dirty tricks. Some others might describe it as finely curated cheeses paired with balance wine. But against Serral, you've got to bring something new to the table. But at the same time, Serral is going to understand that as well. He probably understands that better than me, you, and everyone else combined. But starting things off, 2 Adepts, just throwing shade at the Zerg and making sure that everything has to stay back at home. He completes the shade into the natural, gets 2 drones, and Serral dodges, but jams himself into the mineral line, making sure the Zerglings gets a 3rd drone as well. In that early worker harassment, a single Adept will escape for now, and the Zerglings, well, is there an Oracle nearby? It's coming across. They find the Adept, but it is ripped to shreds, I say. So we'll not get away with murder, but at the very start, the Zerg economy is an exponential. Wow. Trigger takes the base to the north, unprovoked. I think just trying to buy a few more seconds of Serral not realizing it. Just doing something like this. This is the best way, I think, to get an edge over Serral. You don't want to try an entirely new strategy, but maybe come at it from a slightly different angle that he's not perfectly prepared for, like shading with the first 2 Adepts, expanding to the northern side. So already a decent start for Trigger, as the Oracle able to shave off a couple more workers. Now both Oracles gathering together in the trees, gonna try to burn out the drones, but the Queen, the Spore, and the drones themselves mitigating the damage. And Serral doesn't know about this. The 3rd base is on the way. He's got to give him more credit, right? Like, Serral is not one to be hamstrung by hubris. He hasn't checked for it. He's getting into the main. He's seeing the Twilight time. Now he's going to realize. But the base is already done. Trigger. Just this small move. A very smart one. And that little risk with a big reward. Because if he had just taken the base at the normal 3rd, Serral likely would have been able to delay it. Well, so what you want to do is maximize Oracle time on the other side of the map. Oracles can play defense, but that's not what they're great at. They're great at doing whatever they can to disrupt and interrupt and infuriate the Zerg on the other side of the map. Sure, they can burn the Zerglings, but between Revelation, stasis, and just the general threat to the mineral lines with the Oracles, Trigger has been able to maximize his uptime and make sure that 3rd base is defended without having to actually defend it at all. And it's one of those little things, but Protoss versus Zerg is all about the details. That's where the devil's found. And right now, Trigger in a comfortable spot moving forward. Now, how can he compound that? Blink +1 on the way. Gateways number 5 and 6 coming online. Serral's creep spread has been very efficient. He's working on a 4th base. Will Trigger bother with lighting up with Oracles? I don't think so. Hydralisk Den is on the way. He's skipping past the Roach phase, adding an infestation pit, whole bunch more Zerglings. He knows that these stalkers are coming across the map, and now the Zerglings are built to respond to it. But Trigger already has Blink done. And with the Oracles overhead, he has the defense. It's almost impossible to actually kill these Stalkers without the Hydras coming out, or a massive overcommitment. So keeping control of the creep spread. Trigger has a 4th base on the way, and he's taking it. He's doing it again. Serral, he didn't have a Zergling on location, I don't think. Yeah, he doesn't know about it yet. And that's so important. I cannot stress that enough. It might sound pretty basic, but it is based instead. But a dozen Hydras on the way. Trigger has to be very careful not to overextend here. The Queen's combining with everything, trying to pull it together. And the stasis wards will create almost a force field. So far, only one Stalker has died. This has been immaculately handled. Serral has a Zergling on location of what should be the 4th base. But now the Stalkers are using the stasis force fields. And this... Wow, this is so far so great out of Trigger. The Queen's helping hold it together, but Serral under real pressure. Trigger's at 72 probes and counting. He's got +1 against no upgrades, though Serral's working on +1 himself. Right now, economically, Serral's in a mediocre spot. Technologically, not much better. The Canadian Protoss so far has surpassed him in every way. Now he's just got to keep it up. Templar Archives in production. 4 more. He still doesn't know. This is going to be a 5th base. Serral. He doesn't even know he's being bamboozled yet. That's the wild part of all this. Serral sending the Zergling by. And Trigger's army is perfectly fine. Like, this many Stalkers. He's already got upgrades. Storm should start. Storm. Well, that's the one thing he's missing is Storm as soon as possible. Because Storm will wash away any sort of flood of Zerglings and Hydras. That is the one thing that he needs in order to complete the whole sort of tech tree here. But he's going for some Archons first. Serral, he finds the base down the center. And this is exactly what he wanted to do before. He wanted to get those Zerglings. No cancel. Trigger will lose out on the full complement of minerals. Not a huge deal there. The Stalkers still keeping things at bay. And the key part is map control. If you can keep Serral bottled up, he doesn't have the vision. He doesn't have the ability to force the issue. And Trigger, on the other hand, is one good attack away from taking out a key base of Serral's. Zerg, without economic control, can only really play defense without taking a massive risk. I know, Dark exists. And a fleet beacon is on the way, already progressing up to that late-game tech, even as Serral gets Hive and a Lurker down. So far, so great out of Trigger. With a Archon charge lot and a few Stalker counterattack over to the right flank. +2 done. No upgrades on those Zerglings. The Hydras are coming through. Ooh, a bit sloppy, losing some Stalkers over to the left flank, but 5 drones dead. And Serral cannot afford it. Stalkers moving forward. Stasis wards to zone out. And did he notice the one on the left? He did not. A bunch of the Hydra is going to be taken out of the fight, and he might have enough to just attack through. But so far, Trigger, he's up. He's got 17 more workers. This has been a perfect game out of him. Like, literally not lost any units, but he's cut a couple corners exactly where he needed to get the edge. And Serral has been on defense this entire time. The Queen's trying to hold the line. The Zealots splitting off to cut off the reinforcements. The Lurkers have arrived. The Stalker's moving forward. But Trigger, he's got... I was going to say he has plenty of money in the bank, and then he warped in a cinematic of Zealots. I believe 12, to be precise. Which seems like an imprecise amount of Zealots at that point. You just start sending them out. But Tempest on the way. And there are no redeeming qualities here for Serral. He's got Lurkers, but Lurkers aren't great against Tempest, and by that I mean they're one of the worst options. You need the Lurkers, though, to deal with the ground army. The Hydras are not good enough. Trigger did not go for Storm. Now, Serral can't know that. The Archons imply it. He got a Contaminate on one of the Tempests, which gives away the fact it exists, obviously. Serral's been aware of that for a while. The Mothership is in production. But now, Serral has lurkers with range, which are a difficult unit to deal with. Stalker's moving up, several of them getting eviscerated before he can back off. And the lurker counter. It's a technical unit composition. You need to have the right units to deal with it. Recalling zealots is not going to be enough. He doesn't have the detection. Here comes the revelation. Hydras might be able to take down. Don't get either of the oracles. Some probes dying as well. Serral using this opportunity to move in with another army. The map finally opened up. The Nexus is taken out. The lurkers will be crushed. But the time it took to do so has opened up more opportunity for Serral to get a lot of damage done to the probes. Trigger's been doing great on offense, but playing defense is a whole nother basket of worms and lurkers and zerglings or other Zerg-related things. I don't know why I said worms. Anyways, can of worms? Doesn't matter. Bag of worms? It is Canada. +3 ground weapons about to complete, and the mothership has arrived. A time warp, a bit optimistic, but with Tempest on the field and the mothership overhead. Serral does not have a Spire. He did kill 25 probes. All it took was an inch of space, and he took a kilometer. Serral striking back with an absolute vengeance. At the mothership and Tempest, Trigger built up so much beforehand. If he wasn't as far ahead as he was, he could be looking at a desperate scenario right now. But because he already has incredible upgrades, he has the fleet beacon done, he has the mothership on the field. Well, above it technically, but let's not get pedantic. That still puts him in a comfortable position. Not nearly as comfortable. Wow, we recovered from a replay. I recovered instantly, but I guess you can pause and like and subscribe if you'd like to simulate the live feeling. Okay, I just want to talk about that for a moment, though. The fact that somebody disconnected at that time and they had to recover from replay here in Pigsty Festival, that's actually a crazy time to disconnect. Right as the game goes sideways and both players are in a solid position. Like, if it was anyone but Serral, I'd favor Trigger here. It's still dicey for Serral, but if anyone can handle this early late game composition, well, the short list. One person on that list. Very short list. Storm is completed. There's only 2 Templar, but I think they have full energy. One with this main army. You run the risk of dividing and conquering yourself if you don't manage this near perfectly. Protoss can split their army in twain and still have 2 very capable armies, but if you lose detection on one side or you wander too far forward with your air army, then suddenly it all comes crumbling down easily. Trigger just keeping things together. Stop position in order to minimize damage to the cannon. Lurkers will burrow down. Observers. Serral trying to snipe the observers, which is a bit of a desperation tactic, to be honest. But more lurkers covering this. Trigger cleans up the lurkers to the north side. Another Hydra lurker composition to the south. Lunges forward directly into the storm, and the Hydras will be evaporated. Wow. The moment he lunged forward, the Templar were ready, and that's it! Serral taps out as Trigger with an incredibly well executed game number 1. That was... Serral was not ready. Okay, he did not scout the 3rd in time. He did not scout the 4th in time. You're noticing a trend. He did not have the composition he needed. He took a little bit of damage early, and that can have exponential consequences as time goes on. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Trigger has always been, and by always I mean for like the last 2 years, one of those Protoss players that looks like they're about to be the best Protoss player in the world. But only MaxPax has turned that into a reality over the last half decade or so. But, I mean, there is no greater feather in your cap than, assuming anyone wears caps, it'd be very annoying with headphones. Like, this isn't a Call of Duty tournament. Okay, but I digress. That was, I mean, I can't really criticize anything. I'll find a way, but I love the adjustments because you don't want to you don't want to try to come up with an entirely new game plan. One, it may work once against Serral and never again. Two, it's not something you're likely to practice nearly as much. Even if you're practicing for Serral, there's no way to practice for Serral besides playing against Serral. There's Zerg, and then there's Serral. Okay, it's a different scale. I really love the just expansion pattern and timings. It allowed his oracles to maintain like that presence on the field. But also, clearly Serral didn't... Oh my god, he's doing mining acceleration micro. So you see the shift clicking there? This is... Clem and Max Packs also do this. It's one of those... If you do it absolutely perfect, you will get like 2% more minerals. Because workers, if you look, they decelerate slightly right as they come up to the minerals instead of slamming their face directly into them. And this was actually worked out. This is humans learning from AI. So the if you watch some of those bot games, not like DeepMind or AlphaStar, but the actual script like 25,000 APM bots, they will do this with all their workers because they have infinite APM. It does allow you to mine slightly more quickly. Like, I'm talking so slightly more quickly, especially if you have less than 8 workers on a... Because then you're just the only worker on the patch. So it's one of those things, if you mess it up even once, you have wasted any potential benefit. But if you do it perfectly, then you'll get several more minerals. Especially, like I said, on those extra patches. Also, it's something to sink your APM into if you haven't, but don't try that. It's really a don't try this at home. Even more than the probe flirting with the minerals on the other side of the map. And speaking of, Trigger did not scout at all. This is going to be the first scout. Now, Serral had the Overlord near the front. He's got that third base on the low ground here on El Dorado. Now, the question is, how does Serral adapt? As Trigger took a game, and that's the key to Serral, is how lore-accurate Zerg he is. He'll get hit. He'll lose a game occasionally. Very occasionally, but occasionally. Or a patch will hit, especially this newest one, with the energy recharge on oracles, the change to Hydra Lunge, the adjustments, the Queen now being 175 minerals instead of 150. All these changes have overall made it a little bit more difficult for Zerg, especially in the early game, to minimize damage. Less Queens, plus more useful oracles. It just exacerbates that early harassment phase. That's a little more direct. The Void Ray charging. Okay, Beamer. Serral actually supply blocked off that, not expecting the Void Ray. Another slight adjustment. But what happens is Serral adapts. Yes, he was losing to Clem and Max Packs, but then... Oh, I believe... Oh, no. So he scouted with that Overlord. That Trigger did not go for the low ground. He didn't mine through the mineral wall, which means he's going for this third base, which means with just 812 Zerglings, he was able to deny the base. And why? Okay. Tell me why? No. No. I mean, yes, but... So, Trigger won a game. Therefore, Glaive Adepts. This is the blessing and curse of almost... I don't know. If it works, I guess I like it. But it feels like almost every single time in a series against Serral. Like, a Protoss wins a game, and then it's Glaive Adept time. Alright, we're doing Glaive Adepts. Neeb did it 5 years ago. Hero does it randomly. Zest. We're doing Glaive Adepts. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's kind of the... We'll throw that in there just for... It's like lentils for Protoss. Not that Protoss would know anything about soup making, because Protoss obviously don't have mouths, nor taste. That's why Tasteless plays Protoss. And Cannon rushes, but I digress. not to judge. Okay, I'm definitely judging. Moving on. But here we go. The Adept Shade. Brenda, do you hear that? Yes, I hear you whining. No, the Adepts! I can hear two things at once, Susan. I don't need... Sorry. I blacked out for... The Adept Shade. Queen's drawn away. The little spot lacking creep. Certainly not helping things, but Serral's at 60 drones here. Trigger building 3 probes at a time. This isn't the end of things. This is not the end of the build, at least as long as it goes well enough for Trigger. But it is a big commitment. He's already done some damage just by forcing Serral to build units. But Adepts don't age well. They're more expensive than charge lots. They are easily countered by roaches. And they just don't have the fighting power of Blank Stalkers, especially in the later game. There's a reason why Trigger's going Blink behind this. The Shady Bunch here is threatening. Serral's still only at 60 drones, but... Well, the Adept still existing is kind of a big part of this. He took down the mineral wall down the center. What do we got over here? Overseer, the tickle beams from the sentries are not enough to take it down. He's gonna spot... Does he see the robo? No. But clearly Serral very actively scouting. Does not want to be caught like he was in game 1. Missing any information. Usually that's Serral's greatest strength, is having all the information. It feels like he has map hacks even when he can only see a third of the map. The Void Ray managed to survive through all this despite the negativity of the knitting crew. Road speed is about to finish, and now, well, Serral just takes the gold base to the south. Baneling Nest is... Baneling Nest? I mean, Ravagerling Bane. Yeah, that's another vulnerability of Adepts as well. Is they are ranged units, so they have a tendency to kind of stay clumped up. Unlike melee units like Charge Lots, which can get spread out. Ooh, big counterattack. 5, 6, 7 probes. Already worth it. Meanwhile, the Roach Ravager comes through the center. Trigger actually was still mining. If he had kept it to a single gap in the mineral wall, it would be a lot harder for Serral to move through there. But he had a single probe mining, and there's plenty of space now for Serral. He doesn't even have to open it up himself, though he may choose to. And it's going to be that Ravager, Ling, Bane timing. Trigger, if he doesn't have Storm, will need near-perfect force fields. And even then, is that Baneling drops? Overlord speed is on the way. Banelings. Sneak it around to the north side. Hallucinated Phoenix taken down. Now he's got the gold. Serral now has the income lead. Is he going to wait out Bane speed? No, he's waiting for the attention right now. At least I assume so. He's waiting for Trigger to be committed somewhere else, ideally. And he's going to see the army down the center, and then he moves in with the Banes. Trigger, he's not paying attention. You can see it on the minimap cams. The Banelings will hit. 11 probes dead, some force fields, 12 probes in total. Serral, he waited not for an upgrade, but for when he knew Trigger will be looking the other way, and then he pulls the trigger on the attack. The force fields are... Oh no, the War Prism is taken down. Baneling speed completing mid-fight. The Immortal is ripped to shreds, I say. The Sentry's caught as well. And Serral strikes back with a vengeance. Adept Shade's still a threat. It's just Blink Stalkers back at home to defend. Trickling back the Blinks, but the Banelings are so angry at the Adepts. Oh God. Taken down with prejudice. And now, a few Adepts sneak by, but Serral has everything going for him. He's got the economy. He's got the unit composition. He may lose a few more drones, but the army supply is there. He's just against Blink Stalkers, though those Blink Stalkers just finished +2 ground weapons. Trigger needs more. This is not enough. Ravager, Ling, Bane. Oh, he's got a double gold. I'm not calling him a gold digger, but he's certainly not stingy when it comes to the efficiency of his mining. Let's put it that way. Suggestively. Melee attacks level 1 completed. More Banelings on the way. The Ravagerling Bane ready to bear down. And Serral should have the income. He's not going to be cost effective, but he will be effective. He continues forward. More Zerglings sneaking in the back. Banelings closing in on the base itself. Either the mineral line or the Nexus. The incidental damage should be enough to maybe take out the 4th base on its own. Just rolling through. Nexus at half HP. Trigger holds about as well as he could. Some of the probes are pulled as well. 9 more probes dead. Ravagers, Lings, and Banes continuing forward. A 4th base is going to be taken out almost incidentally. Another Immortal taken down. Looks away. Cool Zergs don't look at explosions. And that's why he makes sure his opponent isn't either. But the probes are getting ransacked, and Trigger kind of dug himself into an odd hole with the Adept Shade timing. And now, Serral taking full advantage of the strength of his mid-game army, complementing it with Hive Tech as well. But I don't think he's gonna need it to claim victory. And now the series is equalized at 1-1. Serral turning it around and making it look relatively easy. I think Trigger getting a little antsy there. It's like the Hellbat timings against Zerg for Zerg versus Terran, where it feels like every player, every Terran player and every Protoss player has to throw that in occasionally. It doesn't necessarily have to be against Serral, but maybe today is the day that Adept Shade or Adept Glaives is going to work. But it feels like more often than not, especially in high-profile series, it's a throwaway game. But in a best of 3, you don't have any games to throw away. Like, if it wins in a best of 7, it's something Hero... Well, Hero would do it in a best of 1 and say, this is a smart move for the rest of the series. But we're not all subscribing to Hero's Forrest Gumpian school of Protoss shenanigans. So, a BS and PS he has. But, come on, Trigger. It'd be great. Well, Estrella, another one of those constantly cooking Protoss that sometimes looks like he might be the next Max Pax and sometimes looks less so. Still, though, putting together a strong timing. But Serral, he has the killer. He's not known for it, but he has the killer instinct. He goes for the double gold base. He's got it. It's right there. Why not? That was a game where Serral had all the info as well. Pretty much from the start. He didn't know for sure it was Adept Glaives, but he had the Roach Warren on time. He delayed the 3rd base, which is a big factor. Same as Zerg losing a few drones to that early pressure. Delaying the 3rd base for Protoss. So taking a base more quickly actually makes it safer. Which sounds a little counterintuitive, but especially for Protoss, where if the base is finished, then you have access to energy recharge. It can more reliably warp in. Like, it has its full HP, and of course you're building up more probes earlier. If you take the base when you feels like you have enough units for it, they can easily overwhelm it. So that is why we see 3rd bases at like 3.5, 4 minutes, and not when Warp Gate is already done or anything like that, because that is the best time to make, to force it to be safe. Oh, that's rude. I think that pylon block will mildly inconvenience the 3rd. I think a lot of Protoss, especially with the addition of energy recharge, are embracing that active expansion style. But it is fragile as well. You are reliant on the oracles. Well, I don't think Trigger had an oracle in that last game, but you're reliant on the early Stargate units to keep the Zerg back. Ideally on their side of the map. So that way you don't have to deal with anything on yours. But this is looking a lot closer to game number 1. Oracle first, Adept Shades. Now, Serral This map, it doesn't really matter which third base you take, so I was going to scout it very quickly. Frostline, the first 4 bases are relatively easy, and then it gets exponentially harder from there. Speed is done. Twilight already. Twilight before third. And 3 adepts. Interesting. So Trigger just making some adjustments. But the Zerglings will find the probe, and this is what happens. He's adapted. You gotta modulate your shields or something. You know, that would actually be a cool mechanic. Shield modulation. Now, refreshes your shields instantaneously once. No, we don't need to give Protoss more. It's a Nexus ability. Also, you know what? All abilities are now Nexus ability. Another probe taken down as he tries for another... Oh no. It's Glaive to Depths again. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. I really wanted to see Trigger play out a more comprehensive sort of mid-game, but he's just going Glaive to Depths again. This time, Serral. Oh, the double! Wow, that's annoying. Couple more. Wait, no. But wait, there's more! That one actually does... Okay. So, units already in stasis cannot be stasised again because they are invulnerable to everything, including stasis, but Serral will have Banelings by the time the Protoss army arrives. And the Protoss army is a bunch of Glaive to Depths. 4 probes dead. The Queens will hold for now. Not particularly vulnerable, but quantity has a quality all its own. Don't do it. Oh no. Oh. Serral just broke him. This is a mental breakdown. This isn't even like Serral countered it. Feels like, I don't know, something happened, but Trigger with a near immaculate game 1, but then the pressure of being up 1 game against Serral. It truly feels like that's what it is here. That was... He just shades right into the Banelings. And Serral only has 57 drones, so he delayed his lair because he scouted pretty much what this was. He saw the timings on the gas at the natural. He had Zerglings in the base. He saw there was no forge early, which means almost certainly it's Glaive to Depths. So Trigger actually has more workers, but he doesn't... Wow. Zerglings are everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. The third base, the main base. They went through the natural. A dozen probes. Whatever sort of economic league Trigger enjoyed for a few seconds is now no longer enjoyable whatsoever. It is a economic, mental, and institutional disaster, as Serral claims 2 in a row in order to take the series 2-1. A decisive victory for the finisher, who could not abide. Feels like he mentally broke it. He took him aside. He's like, no. But that brings us to our bonus game. Serral versus Clem. Clem is Protoss. Fun fact, Clem is ranked the 2nd Protoss on the EU ladder, right behind MaxPax. And this is from when he stream sniped Serral. Not stream cheated, but stream sniped. I would like to get a comparison, but we have him under the account name Sep Susie, which I'm probably mispronouncing, but apparently means a big bad wolf, or is a reference in Finnish. But Trigger, can't. It really feels like almost giving. It's one of those I need a win. I need it now. And I don't trust myself to go any further. Which is... I hope Trigger is able to reflect on that. Because that first game looked so good. Serral was lost. And he lost. That's a key part of it. Literally and figuratively, but... Oh. It truly is the random Hellbat timing of Protoss. There. Maybe this one will work, but as soon as I saw it the second time around, it feels like he had already given up before it started. You can't. It didn't work once. It's certainly not going to work the second time. The logic of maybe he won't expect... No. Just don't. Well, we'll see what Clem... Now, this is the matchup that we never see. Clem's Protoss versus Zerg. Now, at the top of the European ladder, there's almost none except Serral to actually play against at this MMR. But, Clem worked out some months ago and continues to this day. Instead of playing Terran versus Terran, which is his weakest matchup, decided that why not just play Protoss versus Terran? And his win rate against Terran has gone up. But notably, does not choose to play Protoss against Zerg. Though there is only really one Zerg player who gives him competition. Recently, Solar's been doing quite well, but Serral, of course. Well, we'll see. I expect it to be very strong, though not nearly as polished as his Protoss versus Terran, where he's kind of been forged, puns intended, against max packs. Like, there's no better way. And this is what I think the random advantage. As a random player myself, 1/3 Terran, 1/3 Zerg, 1/3 Protoss. Though it depends on the day what the random gods choose to give me. Now, sometimes I fall into the trap of thinking like myself. I know, very dangerous. I think, why haven't I liked and subscribed yet? And then I realize it's because I'm me. And I own the channel, so technically I can like, but you're automatically subscribed here. But I digress. Off track. Sometimes I lose games because I think, what would I do in this scenario as my opponent? Like, would I macro it out, take a third, and go to Storm? Yes. And then they hit me with Glaive to Depths. I'm like, oh my god, of course it's Glaive to Depths. It's always Glaive to Depths, except when it isn't. But even then, sometimes. This is the ladder. It's Glaive to Depths. But, what I'm trying to say is Protoss is Clem using a lot of that as Protoss. Very clearly using Max Pax's Blink Stalker style to defeat Terran. But this is a completely different matchup. No Terrans involved. Nice, right? No. No Terrans involved whatsoever. So, that doesn't mean Clem... While I've known some pro players... Wow, look at the greed. Not even bothering to wall. Serral has Zergling speed. If he just made like 50 Zerglings. But he's just keeping the Oracle back at home. How's this Overlord? Overlord, run! Also, they can't run. They just got a bunch of floating tentacles. I feel like they just kind of congeal. Maybe that's what creep is mashed Overlord. Yeah. What was that? But I've known a few pro players who literally never played any other race. I think that's incredibly rare nowadays. Like, players who near pro as one race, and then, like, diamond for the 5 games they played as another. Which is... It's almost impressive to me, the commitment to not learning what the other races have to do. But at this time, and I do wish maybe earlier in StarCraft 2 would have been more popularized. Oh, god damn it, it's Glaive to Depths again. Are you... Jimmy, no more! When we're choosing these bonus games, screen for the... No, I'm not throwing shade. They are. Well, here we are. This, a ladder game, where Clem is just gonna make a bunch of Glaive Adepts. And this is why people hate Protoss. The thing is, in a best of one against a barcode player on the ladder, that you didn't just... This is still looking very dangerous, because Serral has gone for 63 drones. He's got 4 bases. He's just now... His army is 9 Zerglings against 12 Adepts. So this is very bad. This is actually devastating. The Adepts will be getting some damage done. They might even be able to fight the Queens, though more Zerglings popping out. Hold, Brenda! Hold! I'm holding! I can't do anymore! Sorry. The Queen's over the top. Take out one of the Oracles. The Adepts just brawling. A few Roaches popping out finally, but there will be drone losses. Gonna have to tally it up afterwards. This was a ladder game, so it doesn't have any of the fancy observer mods. But so far, 10 drones killed, Adept shading throughout. Serral didn't have any drones on that extra base. But Adepts almost everywhere at the moment. Serral down to 48 drones. Quite a devastating loss. Definitely finding more success than Trigger did on either of his attempts, but I don't think Serral honestly, this is one of those that hits so late that Serral was underprepared. Clem just sat back and almost felt like he didn't know what he wanted. And then it's Glaive Adepts, because of course it was, but... Infestation Pit, Baneling Nest on the way, but already a Templar Archives and Blink. Notably no Forge. Notably no upgrade out of the Forge. Okay, now just starting +1 ground weapons. But Serral gonna get a wrap around those Stalkers. No Blink done yet. Kind of weird to see Stalkers kind of just die. Almost so rare that happens because everyone goes Blink nowadays. Well, you just don't see it coming. But Serral bouncing back. He did have 4 bases done, and he kept some of the Queens alive. So he had such a strong baseline economy, he should be able to at least recover somewhat, but it's certainly not ideal. Forced to cancel the base off to the right flank. Hive is just now begun, so no adrenal glands, and honestly, that's probably it when it comes to Hive tech he can really utilize. +2 melee. Overlord wandering through. We'll see the Chrono Boost. Or Overseer, let's be clear. Did not get promoted to Overseer just to be called an Overlord. Seer is ranked above Lord. And then there's, of course, Queen. You're goddamn right. Some more Zerglings sneaking in. So, in total, Serral lost 20 drones. But he did lose them when he already had 60. If you're losing drones and you're over 50 with 4 bases, that's when you can bounce back really quickly. That's why there's so much focus on killing like 4, 6, 8 drones before they even have the 3rd base really online. Because the exponential curve of the economy, just imagine. I don't gets hamstrung significantly with those early losses. But it's going to be Adrenal Glands on the way, +2 melee attack. Clem forced to blink back for now. Serral still wary of any direct attacks, but I think seeing the Templar Archives means he has a little bit more leeway in order to build up. Alright. This could be a game potentially for Ultras. If there's no other... He doesn't have a Hydra Den, no Lurker Den, no Spire, so the only other Hive tech besides Adrenal Glands are Vipers and Ultras that you can really access easily. Some Immortals now popping out. Clem has put together a strong army and is in pole position. Ultralisk Cavern is on the way for Serral. I think still kind of an exploratory one. Definitely not something you build unless you know for sure it's going to get the damage done. As Immortals and Storm can easily work their way through. What did we see here? A few Zealots going down. Serral up to 87 drones down, though. As Clem has not been able to follow up that initial Glaives attack with anything too damaging. Zergling counter up to the north side. Clem's 5th base potentially under attack. Just moving forward instead of trying to defend at the back. A Warp Prism in the main. Nothing to deal with it directly. Some storms will ward away the banelings, evaporating them before they get too close. 5th base is canceled. The Immortal barrier triggered. A couple charge lots make it in to Serral 6 o'clock. The War Prism just standing by, no one dealing with it, just ignoring it for now on either side. +3, +2 is on the way for Serral, as well as chitinous plating, so he does want to invest in the Ultralisks. Let him down to 160 supply, struggling to really capitalize on his position, as Serral just has so many units. 101 Zerglings on the field. Even against Storm, that is quite a threat. Few cannons at the 3rd. Ooh, huge stasis catches a couple dozen Zerglings as they counterattack. Big Immortal Templar army working down. Finds a better opportunity with the War Prism potentially. That is a lot of Templar. Nearly full energy. Well, enough for 2 storms on the majority of them. Though Storm does have a short cooldown between them. Alright, the storms. As the banelings move in, he's got to make sure to get most of them. He does. Storming the lings just evaporating. But gonna force out another merge on many of the Templar. And Serral manages to overrun this army as it gets strung out. 3 Ultras in production, and he takes a 40 supply lead. There goes a Ravager. But this map does have low gravity, which I do love. So I bet... Get off my creep! Or the general vicinity extends out to about 10... Don't get technical, Susan. It takes away from the impact of your statement. I don't... Another fight. Lings and Banes barely survive. Zerglings overrunning the cannons. The upgrades are incredible, though still not able to fight a full warp in of Zealots. Ultras are now on the field. The army only has 2 Immortals mixed into it, so could be crushed. The Lings and Banes come back around. Stalker's getting caught out. Big recall, but the Banelings have already connected. Doesn't look like there's enough to actually deal with the Zerglings anyways, and here come the Ultras to the base at the 9 o'clock. Clem scrambling away. GG. Pound side. What? Showing how much weight is behind. I've not seen that one. Clem taps it out as Serral crushes through. And again, the Glaive Adepts. I don't know what conclusion we take away from that one, but I'm not as enthused about the Glaive Adept timing attacks as maybe I could be. Another dominant performance from Serral. Unfortunate we didn't get to see more of Trigger as like we did in game number 1. But if he can channel that energy, somewhat puns intended, that he did in game 1, we're seeing a contender. But I think there's been a lot of players, especially as Protoss, but as every race, that have always been theoretically incredible, but not able to translate that when it mattered most. So I'm rooting for Trigger. I always need more North American players who are competitive. It's a very short list at the moment, but hopefully you enjoyed either way. Thank you to Pig for Pigsty 5. Make sure to check them out. So Pigsty Festival number 6 is coming up at the end of April. So make sure to check it out live and recommend the best games, and hopefully you're willing to watch them again. But you can check out more of Pig's content and casting with the link in the description, Jimmy, below. But thank you for watching. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our Mule Tier members for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jiggy, Devin, Door, Mario, Random Guy in the chat suit. But glad you still enjoy. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Stay chill.